Hey, good afternoon. My name is Jamie Dudley, the newly appointed principal of W.W. Lewis Middle School. And this is going to be the recommendations put forth by myself and the site-based decision-making committee on how we are planning to spend the money that we've been allocated by the Education Advancement Fund. So I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about our school. W.W. Lewis Middle School is in Southwest Louisiana in Sulphur. We serve 777 students in grades 6 through 8 with a teacher to student ratio of 14 to 1. So we have about 60 teachers on campus, 4 administrators, myself, and 3 assistant principals, and 2 full-time guidance counselors. If you look at the bottom left, we have some demographics here. 24.7% of our student population are racial minorities, which means 75.3% of our school is made up of white students. At the bottom left, you can see that almost 50% of our students are economically disadvantaged, and 11.4% of our students have disabilities, which means they have IEPs or 504 accommodations. Um, our school performance score from last year was an 88 point B, 88 point A, point 8, I'm sorry, a score of B. So getting really close to an A, but not quite there. We have 40% proficiency in math, which is a little bit behind the district average, and that'll come up again later in the presentation, and 48% reading proficiency. All right. I will introduce the members of the site-based decision-making committee that I have been meeting with about how we are going to use these funds in a way that is wise and benefits our students and our community. So um, after myself, we have all 3 of our assistant principals at W.W. Lewis, which are Vincent Caldwell, Bailey Cooper, and Jeremy Damon. After that, we have our 2 lead teachers, one in ELA, Misty Welch, and one in math, Stacy Dodson. We have our librarian, Miss Carrie Fontenot, both of our school counselors, Miss Diaz and Miss Wynn. And then we also have a parent representative, Tina Maggio. She's had several students come through W.W. Lewis, and she currently has 2, one in 6th and one in 8th. So she's really familiar with the culture of the school, and she has a really good idea of what she thinks our school should look like and what other parents think as well. And finally, we have Craig Duhan, which is our community representative, and he represents Citgo, which is one of our partners in education. And they've been a really great business to work with in the past as far as providing us funding opportunities for things like STEM and other things of that nature. All right, so when the site-based decision-making committee first started meeting, these are the first actions that we took to try to establish what are our areas for growth, our areas for opportunity, and how are we going to best use these funds in a way that serves our students, our parents, and our community. So the first thing we did was we sent out a survey to all of our teachers, parents, and students. After looking at the results of that survey, we sort of came up with what we were seeing come up as trends for each group. So we have these listed here. For teachers, the thing that they felt that they needed most in this transition time between administrators is instructional support. They see their test scores just like we analyze their test scores, and they feel that they need support, especially in literacy and in STEM, which we'll get into a little bit later. For parents, the priority was always school communication. We saw a lot about parents needing to feel like they have an open line of communication with the school about their students' needs and what we're doing to address them. And finally, student priorities. We saw a lot of requests for new extracurriculars, athletics, and new and improved facilities. So those are some things that we'll get into later as well. The next thing we did was we analyzed our performance data over the past 3 or 4 years to look for trends and to look for ways that we can improve instructionally. And we noticed two really big areas of growth from this data analysis. One is our reading proficiency, which has declined by 3% in the past 3 years. So in 2022, we had 51% of our students scoring mastery or above in reading. And this past year, we were at 48%. So we are in decline for reading proficiency. Um, the second thing we notice is STEM readiness. So this is looking at our math scores and our science scores. We are consistently behind the district average, and that's been true over the past several years. So two of the things that the site-based decision-making committee really wanted to focus on were how can we address these declines that we've seen in reading proficiency and in STEM readiness. And finally, we looked at our school data. So behavior data, attendance data, PBIS, things like this. And some things that we noticed is that the majority of classroom behavior data shows links to hyperactivity. So this may be true in most middle schools, but it's certainly true in ours that a lot of the classroom behavior issues that we see are linked to hyperactivity in students. Middle school, we no longer have recess. We no longer have ways for the kids to move their bodies throughout the day, and you'll see that come up again in our recommendations. And finally, attendance trends decline throughout the year. So as the year goes on, attendance declines. It's not marked here, but also we know that attendance is linked to extracurricular activities and sporting events. Attendance is always better on days when we have athletic events. All right. After we took a look at our survey results, we really heard what our teachers, parents, and students were saying, as well as taking a look at the data in our school performance and just our day-to-day data at school. We came up with this vision statement as a committee, and here it is. W.W. Lewis will collaborate with families and our community to create an environment where every student is included, engaged, and equipped with the knowledge and skills they need to thrive academically and as community members. So this embodies what we're trying to do and what I'm trying to do at Lewis as the new principal. And we hope that you can see how our recommendations reflect this vision. All right, so we decided on 3 areas of improvement based on the data analysis that we did, as well as the survey, and how we could best support the vision that we came up with. And here they are. The first area of improvement is literacy. Like I said, we are declining in reading proficiency, so we really want to push for literacy in all 3 grade levels at W.W. Lewis. Second is STEM readiness. Of course, we've said that we are behind the district pretty consistently in STEM readiness. So we really want to push our math and our science departments to really push for those outcomes. And finally, number 3, we're looking at student wellness. So this is based on our student survey, of course, which talked about extracurriculars and facilities and how we could make their lives at school better, more enjoyable, more memorable, and also addressing our behavior and our attendance data that we saw during our data analysis period as a committee. So getting into a spending overview, we want to address all 3 of those areas for improvement, and this is the large overview of how we plan to do that. So the first large item is going to be instructional support, and I will get into each of these individually, but we are planning to spend $175,000 of our $500,000 allotment on instructional supports. Secondly, we're planning to spend $200,000 on technology. And finally, $125,000 on wellness initiatives. And I'll talk about a little bit more about what that means. All right, starting with instructional support. Here are the 3 things on the left that we are planning to implement as far as instructional supports go. Number 1 is the establishment of a learning commons. And this is sort of similar to a library in the sense that it is a um, educational hub for our school, but instead of being a quiet space where we go to read, research, study, things like that, this is a really dynamic environment that will include lots of STEM equipment, as well as literacy equipment. This is going to be really flexible. It will be accessible to our math, science, and ELA teachers to use as they see fit. It'll also be available to students during their lunches, their study periods, um, as well as before and after school. And we will make it available for all of our STEM clubs like robotics and things like that. Um, So the plan currently is to convert our second conference room space into the Learning Commons. We currently have two conference room spaces at Lewis. One is used for PLC and parent conferences and things like that, but we do have a second conference room that is mostly unused from what I understand. So we are planning to do a minor renovation on this space to create it into a really great flexible dynamic space for our students and teachers. Um, and we really think that we can utilize this space in a way that is going to impact our ELA and our math and science learning outcomes. So you'll see in the line items that we have $40,000 for the renovation. So like I said, this is a minor renovation. We're talking about paint, storage solutions, minor electrical, like running additional outlets for the STEM equipment, and new flooring because the flooring in that room currently is original to the school, so it's very outdated. Um, Next, we have $30,000 for flexible furniture. We're really wanting to put some flexible furniture solutions in this room. In addition to our regular ed students using this room, we would also love to make it available to our SPED teachers. And we know that flexible furniture can be a really great thing to use for those teachers as well. Um, Next, $15,000 for high interest books and leveled readers. So, of course, we have our library, but we also want to make this a space that is fun and can be loud, maybe, and just has a little bit of a different environment than the library does. But we do still want to provide some really high interest books, maybe some young adult novels, some graphic novels, as well as leveled readers for students who struggle with reading proficiency and fluency. And our ELA teachers will be able to implement that space in their classrooms really well. Next, we're looking at $20,000 for 2-year licenses for software, and this is literacy and STEM software. You'll notice that we haven't listed any specific software here, and that's because we are waiting to sort of meet with our ELA team and our math and science team to see what our teachers would prefer, but this is going to be things like ILT, Lexia, iReady, Gizmo, things like that. So we are budgeting $20,000 for those licenses for 2 years. $15,000 for STEM kits. So this is our STEM equipment, our 3D printers, building materials, robotics, Lego, anything that we feel can make a better space for our STEM teachers, and we will consult with them on that. So that's the Learning Commons. The next thing that we're thinking for instructional support is a no-cost after-school tutoring program. So, in the past, when students need a tutor, what we do is we work through the counselors to set them up with a private tutor. We have some teachers that, out of the kindness of their heart, do offer tutoring at lunch and after school for their students at no cost to them. But of course, we don't want to ask our teachers to work for free. Their time is very valuable. So what we will do is use some of these funds to create a tutoring program that both values and pays our teachers for their time and also is at no cost to students. And that's including transportation, as you'll see in the line items. So as far as teacher stipends, we're looking at $31,500. That is enough money to pay our teachers their hourly rate 3 times a week for an hour after school for the rest of this school year. And that's for any teachers that are willing to do that. Of course, it's not mandatory. We are also budgeting $3,500 for tutoring transportation. So any students that are in zone and already ride a bus to and from school, they will not have to sacrifice their transportation in order to attend after school tutoring. Um, this is really important because, as we talked about earlier, we do have almost 50% of our schools economically disadvantaged, and we want to be able to offer them the same supports that students would get if they are able to afford a private tutor. Um, and transportation is often a barrier to things like that, even if they're at no cost to the student. So, that is the second thing we're looking at for instructional support. And finally, we're looking at professional development. So you'll see in the line items, we've allotted $6,000 for reading and $6,000 for math for some really high quality reading and math professional development. We want our teachers to be up to date and informed on the best practices in their disciplines, and how they can best support our students so that we can increase that reading proficiency and that STEM readiness. And we have also allotted $8,000 for substitute coverage. That way, our teachers are able to attend to those things during the school day. The second category of spending that we have here is technology. So starting with one-to-one student devices, we know that one-to-one student devices increase learning outcomes. We know this to be true, and for that reason, we have one-to-one student devices at WW Lewis and throughout this district that were provided to us by the district. Unfortunately, those things were provided about 7 or 8 years ago. So a lot of those devices are becoming unusable, and becoming very difficult to keep in circulation. So the district has done some things in the past to find some solutions for that, including purchasing cases for the laptops, doing their best to replace devices as we need them, but unfortunately, the money is just not there, as you know. So we do plan to use $105,000 of this money to purchase 300 new student laptops. And we anticipate, based on what we know and what's happened with the one-to-one program in the past, we anticipate this extending our one-to-one program for the next 5 years. So between the laptops we have that are usable and these 300 laptops, we should not have to worry about one-to-one devices for the next 5 years. We're also adding 10 charging cards for these new laptops for $15,000. After one-to-one devices, we're thinking about classroom technology. So we know that the best types of classrooms are interactive and technological, and we want to make sure that all of our classrooms have updated technology that works and is functional and is user-friendly for both teachers and students. So we are planning to purchase 8 Promethean active panels. A lot of our teachers already have these, but a lot of them do not. So $40,000 toward 8 Promethean active panels and $33,000 toward 15 pilot hover cams, which are a mobile teacher hub. So this includes a document camera and a built-in computer on wheels. A lot of our teachers use these, love them, and it really allows our teachers to be dynamic in the classroom. And finally, we've allotted $7,000 for the installation mounts and cables that will go with this technology. And finally, we are looking at student wellness. So we are planning to spend $125,000 on student wellness. The first thing that we will be implementing is a WW Lewis soccer team. This is something that we saw in our student and parent surveys, and from what I understand, it has been a hot topic at this school for many years. The local high school that we feed into has a thriving soccer program, and unfortunately, our students are not prepared to go into that program. So we have very few students that go to the soccer program at the high school. And we want to give them the opportunity to do that. We know that sports build discipline, they build character. We know that attendance rises on days when there's athletic events. And soccer is a full year-round sport. So we feel that this would help student wellness. So, because uniforms can also often be a financial barrier for families who want their child to play a sport, we are planning to purchase 80 school-owned soccer uniforms, 40 for boys, 40 for girls. And so that's going to be about $8,000. Secondly, we need equipment for practices and games. So we are allotting $7,000 for soccer equipment. Third, we are allotting $10,000 for junior soccer coach stipend. So we have great head coaches here at Lewis. However, they are trained in football, volleyball, and basketball. They are not soccer experts. While they know enough to coach the team, we really want to get some people in to start this program off right. So we are planning to recruit 2 junior coaches from the local university team. And we will pay them a stipend out of the funds. Next thing is going to be updated PE equipment. So the last time that Lewis was able to invest in PE equipment was well over a decade ago, and a lot of that equipment is looking a little worse for the wear these days. A lot of it is not usable. So we have made some allotments for PE equipment, and you'll see in the line items we've got ball sets with storage racks. This is basketball, volleyball, football, soccer, volleyball nets, portable indoor-outdoor goals and nets for soccer, handball, badminton, and hockey. We've got track and field kits with batons, shot puts, jump ropes, and hurdles, as well as PE games and activities. So this is cones, it's parachutes, bean bags, jump ropes, kickballs, those kinds of things. We really feel like this will invigorate our physical education program. And we know that because our behavior data shows that most of our classroom behaviors that are not favorable are due to hyperactivity or related to hyperactivity, we really think that a quality PE program will help our behavior data. We also are budgeting $5,000 for mats, padding, and safety equipment. We know that's super important. And finally, we are planning to spend the rest of these funds on a courtyard refresh and an outdoor classroom, which I'm so excited about. First of all, we have our outdoor courtyard. This is where our students eat lunch. It's where they spend their time before and after school, when they're waiting for class to begin and when they're waiting to be picked up from school. Unfortunately, fortunately, our enrollment has grown, but unfortunately, we do not have the space in the courtyard to seat that many students. Not at lunch, not before school, not after school. So we are planning to invest in some picnic tables and benches to hopefully accommodate the growth in enrollment. We also want to update our landscaping. So this is not something that we typically have the chance to do, but we really want to beautify our school and give the students a place that they can feel proud of and that they can have fun and hang out in, that they feel good about. And lastly, we've allotted $6,000 to create something I'm so excited about, which is an outdoor learning space. A lot of our teachers will sometimes like to hold class outside, which requires that the students sit on the ground or sit at picnic tables. So what I'd like to do is create some amphitheater style seating with benches and roll-out desks so that they can have class outside, and that will include a indoor-outdoor whiteboard and some shaded structures. So we've allotted $6,000 for that, and in total on student wellness, we're spending $125,000. All right, so back to our 3 areas of improvement that we got from our data, from our vision, from our surveys. We talked about literacy. So here are the things that we're going to spend these funds on that are hopefully going to affect our literacy proficiency. The Learning Commons, student technology, that's our one-to-one devices, interactive classrooms. We are sending our teachers to reading professional development of very high quality, as well as our after-school tutoring program. STEM readiness, very similar. We have our learning commons, student technology, interactive classrooms, high quality math professional development, and our tutoring programs. And finally, for student wellness, we are starting our W.W. Lewis soccer team. We are updating our PE equipment. We are going to have an outdoor learning area so that we can learn outside sometimes when the weather's nice. And finally, we are going to have some updated facilities with that courtyard. All right, that's all I have. If you have any questions or would like to contact me regarding any of these recommendations, you are welcome to reach out to me via email or phone. And if you would like to address the full committee, I've listed our email address here. Thank you very much, and I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon.